Now, this wasn't on our agenda, but it popped into my mind, and I'm so curious to get your opinion on this. We have a Miss South Africa who's a Miss World, Rulene Strauss, and we have our current Miss South Africa going to compete in Miss Universe, I think it is. Kind of ties into what we were talking about when it comes to the royal family. Should we be proud as a country that we have these leggy, beautiful women representing us? What is up with Miss World and Miss Universe pageants?
If you ever needed to be convinced that pageants are absolutely ridiculous, and I mean, I love fashion, and you know, I'm not someone who is completely anti that whole industry, but do yourselves a favor and go onto a website called tomandlorenzo.com. They've broken down into 4 parts the outfits at Miss Universe. And you actually...
The world's, your national costume things.
The national costumes. It's absurd. It is laughable. I just don't... It's like Monarchs. It's 2015, guys. Yeah. And now Miss South Africa, the organization, has said we're no longer going to have the bikini section because we don't feel it's necessary. As though the rest of it is necessary. I think it's archaic and stupid.
My question is, if you're going to have a Miss Universe competition, then why don't we have extraterrestrials in it? It's just the most ridiculous thing. You have a Miss World and now we have a Miss Universe.
I also don't understand why we have both.
No, me neither.
I think one is owned by Donald Trump.
One is owned by Donald Trump.
That's the one I'd be like, I definitely don't want to be involved with that one.
No, you should already be asking questions. I feel almost like they wanted to do one and then they had a fight and they branched off and now one of them is Miss World and one of them is Miss Universe. I just think it's ridiculous and
it is a very
expensive.
It's just it is, I agree with you 100%. It's such an archaic and frankly sexist institution.
Right.
You parade women up and down and say it's about their looks. It's not about their looks. It's about how well how smart they are and all these things. They can represent your country, and then you make them wear like next to nothing. They may be getting rid of the swimsuit competition, but it's not going to stop people like judging a person like, well, she's the prettiest one, she must win. It just perpetuates that whole idea.
I mean, I remember very briefly once, it was just because I was skipping channels. I was not actually settling on this program.
I feel like this is a disclaimer.
Yes. This was when I still had television. They were judging the girls who were entering. They weren't even shortlisted yet. And literally, you can hear the judges afterwards, they go, she's got no calves.
No calves?
Yeah, or like, no, her stomach, that's not really good enough, and stuff like that. I mean, in this day and age, really, we're parading women up and down like cattle. You know, it's not a racehorse, like, bad fetlocks. and we're totally okay with that. Just don't understand.
No, me neither. But is there some good that can come of it? Are we looking forward to seeing what Rulene Strauss is going to do as Miss World? No. She is a medical student, you know. So
well, this is the other thing that always confuses me.
I just want her to come home and finish her degree.
It confuses me about the women who enter these competitions. I'm having this discussion in my office last week. I was looking at the website, they're already doing like the next round, the next Miss South Africa, and I was reading their little bios. And all of them are like, I'm studying this, engineering students. Like, well, you're clearly not stupid. Why are you putting yourself through this process where you're just going to be, all your achievements, everything that you are as a person, the real things, your personality, your intelligence, that goes away, and people now must just judge you on your appearance. I don't understand why they choose to do that. I mean, obviously it's your right, you have your choice to do it, but I personally don't understand why they'd want to do that. I can't think of any of my friends when I was in university who'd be willing to go through that kind of, to put themselves through that process.
No, absolutely not. But it is true, a lot of them are studying, you know, good degrees.
Things, yeah.
Although on the other hand, I mean, I know some people with very good degrees who, so.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean everything.
I tweeted when she won and everyone was calling her national treasure. That actually, that day, Nelson Mandela had been buried exactly a year ago. And I tweeted something along the lines of, guys, Rulene Strauss is great, but not our national treasure. We buried our national treasure a year ago. And I got a lot of flack on that. Lots of people saying, well, why can't we have more than one national treasure? I just don't know if I want a national treasure to be somebody who's judged on the length of her legs.
It's you know, if we're going to take the analogy further, she's like really nice costume jewelry. Yeah. You're not going to wear it next season, you know.
She did,
and it serves its purpose and it looks lovely for a while, but it's not an heirloom.
Look, as much as we're making jokes and making fun of the whole process, some of these women after the fact have done really great things with their careers. Basetsana Khumalo is obviously the most obvious example. Jolene Strauss, she's...
Yes, she is, and
Yeah.
I think isn't Amy Klein?
I don't know what she's doing.
Joanne, do you mean Joanne Strauss?
Joanne Strauss, yes. I would forget their names. But I mean, they're women who like
Who have really built something up from that point.
From that point. So, yeah, you can make something of yourself beyond being a beauty pageant queen, but first and foremost, people will always remember that you were a beauty pageant queen.
And also, I think that even still quite recently, but sort of a decade or two ago, it was a very different thing. Miss South Africa was actually a celebrity then. Whereas now, I think the last 9 out of 10 Miss South Africas I could walk past and not know them.
Yeah.
Like the winners of Idols.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think back then it was a different thing.
Oh, I remember Miss South Africa being like a big event. So everyone I remember being at home and like we'd have to go watch Miss South Africa. It's on, and then it would be on the front page of the newspapers the next day who the new Miss South Africa is.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's just kind of fizzled away into something as it should be.
We didn't know about Doreen Strauss as much until she actually won Miss World.
I'd never
I
heard her
mean,
name beforehand.
when my mum is friends with a woman who won Miss South Africa in like the 80s, and she like raved about it because I was going to university and this woman lived in the same town, and I was sort of like, okay, but it was such a big deal for her because back then it was a very prestigious achievement, and I think also it was a very different time. I mean, women could only do so much. That was a huge thing, and I think that's why a lot of them were able to build really good careers thereafter, and starting with that as the foundation. But I think today there is maybe a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
I think that's the crux of the feminist argument against it, and that's we can do so much more. We were afforded so much more opportunity. We don't need to go back to that. It's been so great chatting to you two, and I could chat to you forever, but I think you need to go and sell some plasters and you need to get back to your job. Please do tweet a bit more about Charlie Hebdo because I really do want to hear your opinion on it. And where can we find you guys on social media? Do you have blogs, websites? Where can we catch up with you?
I do have a blog, but when was the last time I used it? I can't even remember. But you'll find me on Twitter is where you can find me the most. My name is @mvelasep.
And mine is Lisa the Unicorn.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.